The holographic display flickered as Captain Alexandra Morrison manipulated the ship's schematics, her fingers dancing through the quantum core's intricate design. 12 pairs of eyes stared back at her from the United Earth Defense Council chamber, most containing barely concealed disdain. "As you can see, distinguished council members," she said, keeping her voice steady despite the sweat beading on her forehead. "The quantum entanglement matrix doesn't just improve weapons targeting. It fundamentally changes how we think about space combat." Admiral Reeves, a man whose career predated the first Mars colony, leaned forward with a sneer. "Captain Morrison, in my 40 years of service, I've seen hundreds of revolutionary designs. They all claim to change warfare forever. They all end up in the scrapyard of failed experiments." Morrison zoomed in on the ship's defensive systems. "With respect, Admiral, none of those designs successfully demonstrated quantum predictive shielding." "The UES paradox." "A fitting name," interrupted Commander Phillips, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against the polished obsidian table. "Since your entire proposal paradoxically ignores basic laws of physics." Scattered chuckles echoed through the chamber. Morrison felt her cheeks burn, but forced herself to maintain eye contact. She'd expected this reaction. The military establishment rarely welcomed ideas that threatened their carefully constructed doctrine. A gentle cough drew everyone's attention to Admiral Harrison, the oldest member present. His weathered face remained neutral, but Morrison caught a familiar glint in his eyes. "Captain, you're asking us to allocate tremendous resources to an untested theory. Help us understand why we should trust your judgment over our conventional warfare experts." Morrison took a deep breath. This was her opening. "Because conventional warfare will get us all killed." She swept her hand through the hologram, replacing her ship design with long-range sensor data. "The Drachnid fleet approaching our outer colonies isn't just larger than anything we've encountered. It's using technology that renders our current detection systems useless." She highlighted several apparently empty sectors of space. Complex mathematical formulae scrolled beside them. "These gravitational anomalies. They're Drachnid warships, cloaked using a method we barely understand. Our current defense doctrine is based on engaging enemies we can see. In 3 months, we'll be fighting shadows and losing." The chamber erupted in overlapping voices until Harrison raised his hand for silence. "These readings, they're from the Perseus Deep Space Array." "Yes, sir. I have level 7 clearance through my previous posting there. The array detected these anomalies 2 weeks ago, but the pattern recognition software dismissed them as background noise. It took quantum algorithms to reveal the truth." Commander Phillips' expression shifted from dismissive to concerned. "If you're right about the cloaking technology, then our entire defensive strategy is obsolete," Morrison finished. "But the quantum core I'm proposing doesn't just detect their ships. It predicts their movements through subspace distortions. We can hit what we can't see." Admiral Reeves stood abruptly. "This is preposterous. You're asking us to bank humanity's survival on theoretical physics." "No, sir." Morrison straightened her shoulders. "I'm asking you to save humanity using tested physics. The prototype quantum core has been operational for 6 months in my laboratory. Every simulation shows." A priority alert flashed across the chamber's main screen, cutting her off. Harrison's face went pale as he read the message. "Perseus array confirmation. Massive subspace distortions detected. The Drachnid fleet. It's not coming in 3 months. It's coming now." Silence fell like a hammer. Morrison's heart raced as she quickly calculated the implications. How long? 26 hours until they reached the outer colonies. Morrison locked eyes with Harrison. "Give me a crew and emergency resources. The Paradox's core is ready for installation. In 24 hours, I can show you a ship that will change everything." Harrison studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Council members, I move to grant Captain Morrison emergency executive authority under Protocol 7. "Admiral." Reeves sputtered. "You can't seriously." "The motion carries." Harrison cut him off, his voice hard as steel. "Humanity's survival now rests in the hands of a maverick." God help us all. Morrison closed the holographic display, her mind already racing through crew selections and launch preparations. She had one chance to prove her theories right. One chance to save humanity. The weight of that responsibility settled over her shoulders like a lead cloak as she strode from the chamber, leaving the stunned council members behind. The real challenge was about to begin. Quantum core destabilizing. Containment at 30%. Lieutenant Sarah Jung's voice cut through the chaos on the Paradox bridge. Warning lights bathed the command center in pulsing crimson as klaxons screamed their automated warnings. Morrison's fingers flew across the quantum interface, her mind racing through possible causes. The core installation had gone perfectly, too perfectly. "This isn't a malfunction," she muttered. Then louder. "Computer, trace power fluctuations for the last 10 minutes. The holographic display materialized, showing cascading system failures spreading from a single point. Morrison's eyes narrowed. There. Engineering subsection 4. Someone manually overrode the containment protocols. Commander Marcus Wade, her newly assigned XO, gripped his station as the ship shuddered. Sabotage. Who ruled? Everyone who thinks I'm going to get us all killed. Morrison cut him off. Lieutenant Jung, route emergency power through the secondary containment grid. Wade, get security teams to subsection 4. Whoever did this might still be there. The deck plates groaned as another tremor rocked the ship. The quantum core's distinctive hum shifted to a higher pitch that made Morrison's teeth ache. They had minutes, maybe less, before. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected. The tactical officer's shout drew all eyes to the main view screen. 3 Drachnid warships materialized from the swirling vortexes, their obsidian hulls seeming to swallow the starlight. Of course they show up now, Morrison growled. Status of conventional weapons. Offline. The power fluctuations knocked out targeting computers and missile guidance systems. Wade's face went pale. We need to abandon ship. Without weapons. We have weapons. Morrison's voice carried an edge of steel as she pulled up the quantum targeting system. They just aren't conventional. Her hands danced across the interface, connecting her consciousness directly to the quantum core through neural feedback circuits that Command had deemed unnecessarily dangerous. The ship's interior disappeared from her awareness, replaced by a ghostly quantum overlay of space itself. She could see probability waves rippling outward from the Drachnid ships, showing their potential movement paths before they made them. Captain, the enemy vessels are charging weapons. Morrison smiled. The quantum view showed her exactly where their shots would land, and they weren't accounting for her ship's quantum-shifted position in spacetime. Initiating predictive defense matrix. The paradox seemed to blur, existing in multiple probabilistic states simultaneously. The Drachnid energy beams passed through empty space where the ship had been a microsecond before. Holy shit, Wade whispered. That's impossible. That's quantum mechanics. Morrison's focus never wavered as she accessed the offensive systems, preparing to return fire. Lieutenant Jung, I need more power to the entanglement array. The core's still destabilizing. We have maybe 2 minutes before total containment failure. Morrison saw the probability paths shifting, showing her the one chance they had. Route everything through the primary circuits. Forget the safeties. Captain, Wade protested, that'll burn out half our systems. Better than being atomized. Morrison locked onto all 3 enemy ships simultaneously through quantum entanglement. In her quantum view, she could see the perfect firing solution, one that used the enemy vessel's own shield harmonics against them. Quantum torpedoes armed, the tactical officer reported, but guidance is still offline. We don't need guidance. Morrison's consciousness merged deeper with the quantum systems. The torpedoes are already connected to their targets. Fire. 3 streaks of blue-white light erupted from the Paradox's launchers. The Drachnid ships attempted evasive maneuvers, but the quantum-entangled torpedoes adjusted instantaneously, matching their movements with perfect precision. 3 simultaneous explosions lit up space as the weapons phased directly through the enemy shields. Direct hits. The tactical officer's voice cracked with disbelief. All 3 vessels disabled. Morrison pulled herself out of the quantum interface, her head pounding. Zhang, status of the core. Stabilizing. Whatever you did with the weapon's fire, it reset the containment field harmonics. We're safe. Wade stared at the disabled Drachnid ships, then at Morrison. I've never seen anything like that. How did you? The quantum core doesn't just power the ship, Morrison explained, allowing herself a small smile. It connects us to the quantum fabric of space itself. Those torpedoes hit their targets because, in quantum terms, they were already there. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Wade spoke. Command's going to want a full report on this engagement. Good. Morrison stood, her legs slightly shaky from the neural interface. Because I want them to understand exactly what happens when they try to sabotage my ship. Lieutenant Zhang, download all sensor data and get me a security team. We have a saboteur to find. As her crew rushed to comply, Morrison watched the drifting Drachnid vessels. The quantum technology had proven itself in combat, but she knew this was just the beginning. Somewhere aboard her ship, someone wanted her to fail. And the real war hadn't even started yet. Morrison ducked as the ceiling panel exploded above her head, showering the corridor with sparks. The assassin's plasma bolt left a glowing hole in the bulkhead where she'd been standing a moment before. Security to Deck 4. She rolled behind a support beam, drawing her sidearm. Scratch that. Medical team to Deck 4. Our friend isn't leaving this ship conscious. 2 weeks of success had made the Paradox a target. Military contractors were losing billions as Fleet Command scrambled to retrofit ships with quantum technology. Morrison had expected resistance, but not a professional hit squad infiltrating her vessel during routine maintenance. Captain. Wade's voice crackled through her comm. We've got another situation on the bridge. The quantum array just detected something. You need to see this. Morrison caught movement in her peripheral vision and fired twice. The assassin crumpled with a grunt. Little busy here, Commander. Trust me, this is bigger than your assassination attempt. She could hear the tension in his voice. Wade had transformed from skeptic to true believer after watching quantum mechanics rewrite the rules of space combat. If something had him worried. Security teams here. I'm on my way. The bridge was a hive of activity when Morrison arrived. Lieutenant Zhang hunched over the quantum interface, her face illuminated by streaming data. Show her, Wade ordered. Zhang nodded, pulling up a 3-dimensional star map. Remember those gravitational anomalies you detected? We thought we had the full count of the Drachnid fleet. We were wrong. The map expanded, showing hundreds of distortions that shouldn't exist. Morrison felt her blood run cold. How many? At least 3,000 ships, using some kind of advanced cloaking technology. They're positioned throughout our defense grid. Traditional sensors can't detect them at all. Morrison studied the pattern, her mind racing. They're not just passing through. These positions, they're strategic staging points. The Drachnids have been infiltrating our territory for months. Years, Wade corrected grimly. Some of these signatures show signs of long-term placement. While we were fortifying our borders, they were already inside them. Alert command immediately. We need tow. Already tried. Zhang's fingers danced across the interface, getting interference on all standard channels. But that's not the worst part. Look at this. A new data stream appeared, showing communications patterns between the cloaked ships. Morrison's eyes widened as she recognized the encryption. That's a UED military protocol. Top level. Someone in Earth Command gave it to them. Wade's voice was hard. The only question is how high this goes. Morrison thought about the assassination attempt, the sabotage, the constant political resistance to her innovations. Computered, display all fleet movements for the past 6 months. Overlay with positions of unidentified quantum signatures. The map shifted, showing a damning pattern. Earth's defenses had been systematically weakened, with ships and resources pulled away from the very sectors where Drachnid vessels lurked. They're sacrificing the outer colonies. The realization hit Morrison like a physical blow. The corruption in command. They're trying to preserve Earth's core worlds by letting the Drachnids take our territorial colonies first. Buying time with human lives, Wade growled. Millions of colonists. Morrison straightened. Her decision made. Lieutenant Zhang, begin quantum encryption of all ship's systems. Lock out any external override capabilities. Commander Wade, prepare a priority broadcast on the quantum frequency we discovered. If traditional channels are compromised, we'll create our own network. To contact who? Every ship we've refitted with quantum tech. They can't jam what they can't detect. She allowed herself a grim smile. Time to show them why quantum entanglement makes an excellent communication system. The conspirators will try to stop us, Wade warned. Morrison thought of the unconscious assassin in her break. They already tried. Now they get to learn why that was a mistake. Humanity doesn't survive this by sacrificing its own. We survive by fighting back. She accessed the quantum interface, feeling the familiar connection wash over her. Send the broadcast. Every quantum-capable ship in the fleet is about to learn the truth. Then we'll see who's really loyal to Earth and who's been playing a longer game. As the quantum signal pulsed outward, Morrison watched the tactical display light up with incoming responses. The real war was about to begin, not just against the Drachnids, but against the corruption that had infected humanity's own defense forces. And this time, she had the technology to win both battles. The Paradox drifted silently through Drachnid space, its quantum signature masked to match the background radiation of nearby stars. Morrison watched the main view screen with growing horror as the truth revealed itself through the quantum sensors. That's the third world we found like this, Wade whispered, his face illuminated by the sickly glow of the artificial singularity consuming a Drachnid colony world. Their entire civilization is being devoured. Morrison studied the quantum readings, her mind struggling to process the implications. The singularities defied known physics. They were engineered, precise, and absolutely devastating. These aren't natural phenomena. Someone created these weapons specifically to target Drachnid worlds. Lieutenant Zhang's console chimed urgently, Captain detecting a distress signal. Drachnid science vessel, heavily damaged. They're venting plasma. And wait, their quantum signature is unlike anything we've seen from their military ships. They're not military, Morrison realized, examining the vessel's profile. Those are research configurations. They're scientists trying to understand what's happening to their worlds. She made her decision. Bring us in. Prepare emergency transport and medical teams. Wade stepped closer, lowering his voice. Captain, if Command finds out we're rescuing Drachnids. Command lost their say when they tried to sacrifice our colonies. Morrison activated the ship-wide comm. All hands, battle stations, we're about to make first peaceful contact with the enemy. The rescue operation went smoothly until the Drachnid vessel's quantum core destabilized. Morrison found herself in their engine room, working alongside the alien engineers to prevent a catastrophic breach. Through a combination of hand signals and universal engineering principles, they managed to contain the reaction. Hours later, she sat across from the Drachnid chief scientist in the Paradox's conference room. The universal translator struggled with their complex language, but the quantum interface helped bridge the gap. Your worlds, Morrison began carefully. They're being attacked by something that shouldn't exist. We need to understand why. The Drachnid, who called himself Senior Researcher Kexthor, manipulated a holographic display with his four-fingered hands. We believed we were alone in our suffering, that these weapons were a natural phenomenon we failed to understand. His translator crackled. Until we found this. The hologram shifted, showing a vessel unlike anything Morrison had ever seen. Its design was organic yet geometric, beautiful, and terrifying. They call themselves the Architects, Kexthor continued. We discovered their observation post near the first singularity. He paused, mandibles clicking in what Morrison recognized as distress. They engineer conflicts between species. Engineer conflicts. Wade leaned forward. Why? To study how civilizations fight, how they innovate under extreme pressure. Kexthor's large eyes fixed on Morrison. Your quantum technology. It was developed because of our invasion, yes. That's what they wanted. They're pushing both our species to advance through warfare. Morrison felt sick. The singularities forced you to seek new worlds, which made you invade us, which made us develop quantum weapons. She stood, pacing. We're lab rats in their experiment. Not just an experiment. Kexthor projected new data, studies of the singularity's quantum structure. These weapons, they're collecting energy. Massive amounts. The architects aren't just studying us. They're farming us. Each technological advancement, each battle, each quantum reaction, it all feeds their collectors. Then we've been playing right into their hands, Wade growled. Every quantum-powered shot we fire gives them exactly what they want. Morrison completed the thought, but her mind was already racing ahead. Lieutenant Zhang, analyze these singularity readings. Compare them to our quantum core signatures. Zhang worked quickly, her eyes widening. Captain, the frequencies match. Our quantum technology operates on the same principles as their weapons. We haven't just been feeding their collectors. We've accidentally reverse-engineered their basic technology. Morrison turned to Kexthor. Your people are warriors. Proud. Why show us this truth? Because pride means nothing when your children's worlds burn. The alien scientists stood. We thought humanity was our enemy. Now we know we face extinction by another's hand. The question is, will you help us stop them? Morrison looked at the holographic display of burning worlds, then at her crew. Everything they'd assumed about this war had been wrong. But perhaps that's exactly why they were perfectly positioned to end it. We'll help, she said firmly. But first, we need to show both our peoples the truth, and I have a feeling the architects won't make that easy. As if in answer, the quantum sensors screamed a warning. Multiple ships were emerging from hyperspace, and they weren't Drachnid or human designs. The architects had noticed their lab rats comparing notes. You're fighting the interface, Morrison told the frustrated captain on her view screen. The quantum systems don't respond to textbook tactics. They respond to intuition. The commander of the UES Hyperion, newly retrofitted with quantum technology, shook his head. With all due respect, Captain Morrison, my crew has trained for 15 years in naval combat. We can't just throw away. His image dissolved into static as another quantum surge rippled through space. In the 3 days since discovering the truth about the architects, strange energy patterns had begun disrupting normal operations across both human and Drachnid space. They're trying to isolate us, Dr. James Reynolds said from his station. The quantum physicist had been assigned to the paradox to study the technology's evolution, but his connection to the systems had proved unexpectedly deep. The architects know we're close to understanding something important. Morrison watched him work the quantum interface with an almost supernatural awareness. While other crews struggled to master the technology, Reynolds moved through quantum space like he was born to it. His predictions had saved them twice from architect ambushes that even the advanced sensors hadn't detected. Show me what you see, she said, moving to his station. Help me understand why some pilots adapt instantly while others fight the system. Reynolds manipulated the quantum field, creating a visual representation of the ship's neural network. Traditional military training teaches rigid responses, action, reaction, protocol. But quantum mechanics doesn't work that way. Reality at this level. He paused, his hands trembling slightly. It's about possibility, probability. The willingness to accept that everything exists in multiple states until we observe it. The uncertainty principle applied to combat, Wade mused from his station. No wonder the old guard is struggling. Morrison studied the neural pattern. It's not just about accepting uncertainty. Look at these resonance patterns. The quantum field responds more strongly to. Her eyes widened. Emotion. Intuition. The parts of our mind that aren't bound by rigid rules. Exactly. Reynolds' excitement made the quantum field ripple around him. The architects built this technology to harvest energy from conflict, but they didn't account for human consciousness. We're not just using their tools, we're changing them through use. Lieutenant Zheng's station suddenly lit up with alerts. Multiple quantum surges detected. Something's forming in the space ahead. The view screen showed reality itself seeming to twist. A spiral of energy formed, and within it, images began to appear. Morrison saw flashes of future events. Architect ships emerging from hidden dimensions, singularities consuming worlds, and something else. Something beautiful and terrible that her mind couldn't quite grasp. "Dr. Reynolds," she shouted, seeing him slump over his console, blood trickling from his nose. "Medical team to the bridge." "No," he gasped, his fingers still moving across the interface. "I can see it now. The quantum field, it's not just a weapon or a power source. It's alive, conscious. The architects didn't create it. They enslaved it, and it's been waiting for minds that could truly understand it." Morrison felt it then, a presence in the quantum systems, ancient and vast. Not artificial intelligence, but something far stranger. The quantum technology wasn't just responding to human intuition, it was reaching out, trying to communicate. "Captain," Wade called out, his voice tense. "Fleet Command is demanding we shut down our quantum cores. They're saying the systems are compromised." "They're afraid," Reynolds whispered, his consciousness clearly stretched between normal space and somewhere else. "Not just Command, the architects. They fear what happens when we truly merge with the quantum field, because then we'll be able to." His eyes rolled back as he collapsed. As medical teams rushed onto the bridge, Morrison made her decision. "Send word to all quantum-equipped ships," she ordered. "Begin immediate neural interface training. Full connection protocols." "That's against every safety regulation," Wade protested. "The physical toll on the crews will be less costly than extinction." Morrison helped lift Reynolds onto a stretcher. The architects didn't count on humanity's greatest strength. Our ability to empathize, to connect, to understand things beyond our experience. We're not going to just use this technology. We're going to set it free. As if in response, the quantum field hummed with new energy. Throughout the ship, crews reported strange dreams, flashes of insight, impossible knowledge becoming clear. The evolution had begun, and there would be no turning back. The only question was whether they could master this new power before the architects realized their greatest weapons were becoming humanity's greatest allies. The main view screen of the Paradox showed Earth's defense fleet burning. Morrison watched in horror as Drachnid warships emerged from quantum space with impossible precision, their weapons tearing through humanity's most advanced vessels like paper. "Seventh Fleet is gone," Wade reported, his voice hollow. Eighth Fleet reporting critical failures across all systems. The quantum jamming is spreading. Morrison felt the wrongness in the quantum field. The architects had found a way to turn their own technology against them, creating disruption patterns that reduced quantum-equipped ships to floating hulks. Only the Paradox, with its evolved systems and Reynolds modifications, remained fully operational. "Status of the civilian evacuation," she demanded. Lieutenant Zheng worked her console frantically. "Lunar colonies are clear, but Mars is still at 40% capacity. The quantum interference is affecting their launch systems." A new alert flashed across the tactical display. Morrison's breath caught as she recognized the massive quantum signatures materializing near Jupiter. "That's not the Drachnid main fleet," she realized. "Those are architect ships." The vessels that appeared defied conventional physics. They seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, their forms shifting between states of matter. Energy weapons of impossible power lashed out, not at human or Drachnid ships, but at space itself. They're creating quantum fissures. Reynolds called from his station, blood again trickling from his nose as he pushed his connection to the quantum field to its limits. The singularities weren't enough. They're trying to tear open reality to harvest the energy directly. Morrison opened a channel to the nearest Drachnid flagship. "High Commander Kextar, are you seeing this?" The Drachnid leader's image appeared, his usually stoic features showing clear concern. "The patterns match our theoretical models. These fissures will spread exponentially. In less than 27 hours, they will consume both our home systems. Then we have no choice." Morrison activated the ship-wide comm. "All hands, prepare for quantum space translation. Dr. Reynolds, initialize the modifications." Wade grabbed her arm. "Captain, we haven't tested the deep quantum integration protocols. Merging the ship's consciousness with the crew could kill everyone aboard. We're dead anyway, if we don't try." She met his eyes. "The architects think they understand quantum mechanics, but they don't understand human consciousness or human courage." The deck plates hummed as Reynolds began the integration sequence. Morrison felt the quantum field reaching out, touching her mind, offering connection. Around the bridge, other crew members gasped as they felt it too. "Architect vessels approaching," Jean reported. "Their weapons air." Reality twisted. Morrison found her consciousness expanding, merging with the paradox itself. She could feel every crew member, their minds linking through the quantum field. More than that, she could feel the quantum realm itself, vast and alive, and waiting for this moment. Through the merged consciousness, she understood the truth. The architects hadn't created quantum technology. They had enslaved an ancient quantum entity that spanned multiple universes. Their harvesting wasn't just destroying worlds. It was torturing a living consciousness that existed through all of space-time. "Send this through all quantum channels," she ordered, her voice resonating with new harmonics. "To every human and Drachnid ship with quantum capability. The frequency that will free the quantum consciousness." Now, energy surged through the fleet. Ships that had been dead in space came alive with new power. The quantum field itself seemed to pulse with joy as its true nature awakened in vessel after vessel. The architect ships reacted instantly, their weapons turning toward the paradox. But Morrison could see them now, see through them. Their technological superiority was a lie, built on imprisoned power they had never truly understood. "They're not gods," she broadcast to the combined fleet. "They're jailers, and we just gave their prisoner a key." Space erupted with quantum fire as the architects launched their assault. But for the first time, Morrison felt no fear. The quantum consciousness had chosen humanity and the Drachnids as its allies. The real war was about to begin. And this time, they were fighting with the fundamental forces of reality on their side. The Paradox's bridge had transformed into something beyond human engineering. Quantum energy flowed like liquid light through pathways that hadn't existed hours before, as the ship's structure adapted to channel the ancient consciousness they'd awakened. Morrison stood at the center of it all, her mind linked to both her crew and the Drachnid scientists who had transported aboard. Through the quantum field, species and language barriers meant nothing. They thought and worked as one. "The singularities are spreading faster than predicted," Reynolds projected through the shared consciousness. His physical body lay in medical bay, but his mind worked at full capacity through the quantum link. 6 hours until they reached the populated worlds. Morrison felt the quantum entity's pain as it showed them the truth. The singularities weren't just weapons, they were wounds in space-time itself. The architects had been torturing the universe, trying to harvest its death throes for power. "We've modified the quantum drives on all allied ships." High Commander Kextar's thoughts merged with the group consciousness. "But the power requirements to collapse the singularities will burn out every quantum core in both fleets." Wade finished. "One shot at this." Morrison accessed the tactical display through pure thought, watching as human and Drachnid ships moved in perfect formation. The architects' vessels surrounded them, their weapons capable of unmaking reality itself. but they held back, seemingly confused by their prey's lack of fear. They still think we're fighting them, Morrison realized. They don't understand that we're trying to save them too. The quantum consciousness, it remembers when they were younger, before they became addicted to harvesting power. A sudden surge through the quantum field made everyone gasp. The saboteur, the architect agent who had infiltrated the paradox weeks ago, chose that moment to strike. Emergency bulkheads slammed down as entire sections of the ship began to decompress. Engineering is breached. Zhang's thoughts carried panic. Quantum containment failing. Morrison felt the threat through the ship's systems. The saboteur had evolved too, tapping into the quantum field in twisted ways. They appeared as a shifting mass of probability waves, neither fully material nor energy. "Keep working on the singularity calculations," Morrison commanded. "I'll handle this." She let her consciousness fully merge with the quantum field, her physical form becoming as fluid as the infiltrators. They met in the engineering section, reality bending around their conflict. "Your species are children playing with forces beyond your comprehension," the architect communicated directly into her mind. "The harvest must continue. It is the natural order." Natural. Morrison's response carried the weight of the quantum consciousness behind it. "You imprisoned a fundamental force of reality. Tortured it, turned it into a weapon. There's nothing natural about that." They clashed in quantum space, their battle playing out across multiple dimensional planes. Morrison felt her human consciousness stretching to its limits, but she also felt something else, the quantum entity itself, supporting her, teaching her, showing her possibilities that the architects had never imagined. The singularities were not meant to destroy, she projected, letting the infiltrator see the truth. They were meant to connect, to unite consciousness across space and time. You turned a bridge into a weapon. The architect's form wavered as understanding flooded through their connection. Morrison felt the quantum consciousness reach out, not in anger, but in forgiveness. The infiltrator had been as much a prisoner as the entity itself, addicted to stolen power, unable to see another way. "The calculations are ready," Reynolds announced through the quantum link. "All ships in position." Morrison reintegrated with her physical form, the infiltrator now contained within a quantum stasis field. Through the view screen, she watched the combined fleet form a perfect geometric pattern in space. "This will change everything," Wade warned. "Both our civilizations, all of us who are connected. We won't be the same after this." Morrison smiled as she felt the quantum consciousness pulse with anticipation. "We were never meant to stay the same. Initiate quantum confluence." The fleet began to glow as every quantum core channeled power in perfect harmony. The universe held its breath as two species, united with a consciousness older than time, prepared to rewrite the laws of reality. Not through war, but through understanding. Reality shimmered like a soap bubble as the combined fleet channeled power through the quantum consciousness. The paradox led the formation, its evolved systems guiding the massive energy transfer. On the bridge, Morrison existed in multiple states: physical form, ship's consciousness, and something far beyond both. Singularity collapse beginning. Reynolds reported through the quantum link, his mind burning bright with calculations. The space-time wounds are starting to heal. Through the view screen, Morrison watched as the artificial black holes began to fold in on themselves. The quantum consciousness guided the process, using the fleet's combined power to stitch reality back together. But the architect vessels weren't ready to surrender their harvest. Multiple dimensional rifts detected. Zhang's thoughts carried alarm. "They're trying to tear open new wounds faster than we can heal them." Morrison felt the strain through the quantum field as both fleets pushed their cores to the limit. "They still don't understand," she projected to her crew and allies. "Show them." The quantum consciousness responded, reaching out not with weapons but with memory. Every ship in the combined fleet became a conduit, broadcasting the entity's true nature into the architect's vessels. They saw the beginning of space-time itself, the quantum consciousness emerging as a bridge between realities, the infinite possibilities it once offered before they enslaved it. Their ships are powering down, Wade reported with disbelief. The ones that were linked to the quantum field, they're starting to understand. Not all of them. 3 massive architect vessels, commanded by the oldest and most power-addicted of their species, launched a final desperate attack. Space itself cracked under their weapons' fire. Hull breach on decks 3 through 7. Zhang's console exploded in a shower of sparks. We're losing quantum containment. Morrison felt the Paradox's systems failing, but she also felt something else. The quantum consciousness wasn't just repairing the singularities. It was evolving, and through it, so were they. Her connection with the ship deepened until the distinction between human, machine, and quantum entity became meaningless. All ships, she broadcast, her voice resonating through dimensions. Complete the confluence. The combined fleet's quantum cores pulsed in perfect harmony. Energy flowed not just through circuits and conduits, but through the fabric of space-time itself. The Paradox's hull began to transform, incorporating quantum crystalline structures that grew like living things. The attacking architect vessels fired again, but their weapons passed through empty space. The quantum consciousness had taught them the truth. Reality wasn't something to be conquered or harvested. It was something to be danced with. Impact in 3 seconds, Wade called out. No, Morrison smiled. Transformation in 3 seconds. The energy released by the combined fleet didn't destroy the architect ships. Instead, it reached into them, into the quantum field that connected all things and offered a choice. Morrison felt the moment they understood, felt their ancient hunger for power transform into wonder as they experienced connection instead of consumption. The singularities collapsed in cascading waves of quantum light. Where they had been, new structures formed, cross-dimensional bridges of pure quantum energy, portals to realities humans and drachnids had never imagined possible. "It's beautiful," Reynolds whispered through the quantum link, tears streaming down his face as his consciousness expanded to perceive quantum space in its true form. The architect vessels that had chosen understanding over power began to change, their structures flowing into new forms that worked with the quantum field instead of trying to dominate it. The 3 that had refused transformed too, not destroyed, but contained within quantum matrices until they were ready to understand. Morrison stood on her bridge, now more quantum crystal than metal, and felt the barriers between species falling away. Through the quantum consciousness, she shared the moment with every connected mind in the fleet, human, drachnid, and reformed architect alike. "The war is over," she broadcast, "but our evolution is just beginning." The Paradox's new quantum crystal hull hummed with possibilities as the ship prepared to explore dimensions no one had dreamed existed. Her crew, transformed but still fundamentally human, ready to face wonders and challenges no one could predict. They had redefined not just combat, but reality itself. And somewhere in the quantum field, the consciousness that had once been imprisoned danced free among the stars, teaching its newfound friends how to dance with it.